What's up, everyone? Welcome to the new weekly show, Crocker and Cohn. Very excited to introduce my new guest, Eric Crocker. Eric, thanks for coming on the show, man. Just want to
Oh
say,
man, thanks for having me on. It's been an honor to be able to come on with the great Grant Cohn. Let's go.
if you don't know Eric Crocker, he's been running 49ers Twitter a very long time, longer than me. He was, first of all, we're about the same age. You're from Stockton. You were born in 88 or 89?
87.
87. Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any scholarship offers coming out of high school, did you?
Now I had academic issues, so my
You-
my grades, they didn't allow me to get any type of looks. Nah.
And so you went to college in Arkansas. Then
I
you
went
went
to
to
I went to junior college first. I went to Delta in Stockton, and then I was out 3 years, and then went to Modesto Junior College.
damn,
So
damn.
yeah,
And then
crazy path. Not
You went
ideal.
to the Arena League. You intercepted like 800 passes. Rex Ryan noticed, and you made it all the way to the freaking NFL. And now you're on my show, man. So anyway, I just want to say, I was nervous. I was like reaching out to Eric's friends, like, "Hey, you think he'll do the show with me? What do you think, man? You think I should hit him?" They're like, "Yeah, man." So anyway, thank you. Really means a lot to me. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so let's get right into it, man. This is the time of the year where there's no news, but there are rumors. And I don't know if you were like me, but when I was in high school, I would go to the computer lab first thing and just look up rumors, Walter football. I didn't care if it was true or not. I just wanted something to think about. Mike Florio gave us something to think about. He says he could see Jimmy Garoppolo coming back one more year. Guy was like, "Wait, you hearing this?" He's like, No. I could just see it. Could you see it, Eric?
I can't see it for two reasons. One, just the financial repercussions of it. 49ers don't have a whole lot of cap money. Even if they keep Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen them be able to kind of move money around to make it work. But I think that it's a little less than ideal to have to do that while having the number 3 overall pick on your roster as well. So I think at some point you have to start the process of developing a very young, talented Trey Lance, and the only way to do that is for him to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for another year. Not to say that it won't help, but I think with the financial kind of thing that are going on, I think you got to let Jimmy go and see what you can get back from him in the trade.
Here's the one way I can see Florio being right. Let's say the market for Jimmy is weaker than the Niners are letting on, and the best offer they get's like around 3 or 4. And they don't want to take that to lose face. And they're like, you know what? Let's just keep him. But to your point, how can you afford that? Now you have to extend Debo and Bosa. Seems like this year it's just like financially unfeasible.
Yeah, and man, to kind of go off of what you said, I think maybe that was some of the issue last season, right?
Yeah.
Last offseason where you use all those resources to get the number 3 overall pick and draft a quarterback. I think they maybe would have been willing to move off of Jimmy Garoppolo. Some of the things Kyle Shanahan said.
Yes.
We don't even know if we're going to be alive tomorrow, right? Like, I think that's them trying to say, hey, I don't want to commit one way or the other. But if we can get something in return for him that would make us move off of Jimmy, then we will. If not, then we'll just, stick with him. We know we can win with him, and we'll let our rookie sit, which I think he did.
Right. And if you could get Matt Stafford, they would have moved off of Jimmy last year, but they didn't. They got Trey, and I think their plan was give him a year. And I think the plan was give him a year, and if Jimmy does something truly special, then give him 2 years on the bench. Right. I don't think Jimmy did anything truly special. I mean, it's great that he got to the NFC Championship game, but he's the same guy.
It's kind of hard. It's a touchy subject when you
I don't mean to leave
talking about Jimmy with the fans and everything like that, but I think anybody that kind of is watching with clear eyes, and I hear Debo Samuel, and I hear a lot of his teammates come to his defense, but it's like we know what we're watching, and yeah, he plays well enough, but I don't think it was enough to where it's like, oh, we gotta have that for a whole nother year.
No, I hope not. I think what gives me confidence that Florio's wrong is that I think Kyle Shanahan's with us. I think he didn't really want to say it that loudly because the locker room's clearly in Jimmy Garoppolo's corner, but I think Kyle the whole time's like, I can do a lot better. Come on, like give me a chance with this kid. I think he's the reason Trey Lance is in the building more than anyone. So that gives me
I think it's out of respect, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect him to say? Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna push Jimmy Garoppolo out of the door. Oh, we don't want him anymore. It's like, no, you got to say some of the politically correct things, but along the lines, he's also kind of really told you how he felt. One, traded all the draft capital to get a young guy. Two, looked into Matthew Stafford, looked into Deshaun Watson. So he told you all along, Jimmy is not my guy. I'm just going to be able to get by with him. So, yeah, he's been looking for outs in the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. And, his time is done. Kyle wants more. think anybody that's an offensive coordinator that has seen how his offense, like, runs at a high level with Matt Ryan, even at times with Matt Schaub, like, know what that looks like. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, it don't look like that. So, yeah, he's been wanting more from his offense.
There's nothing he did this year where you're like, he can give you more. He showed here that he can take his game to another level. Like, no, he didn't. But you could say, well, he was hurt. Yeah, but that's Jimmy. Like, he got hurt 3 times this year, and his next team's going to have to plan for that if they get him.
I think that's Deebo Samuel kind of touched on that, right? Where he's like, oh, we've seen the things that he has had to play with and the injuries and things like that. And it's like, dude, he's always been injured. Deebo, he was injured before you showed up. He's been injured while you're there, and he's going to be injured after you leave as well.
Let's talk about that. Deebo Samuel was on press row down at the Super Bowl, and everyone was asking him about Jimmy Garoppolo. And tell people what he said.
So Deebo essentially said along the lines of, he was asked, at least the clip I saw with Jim Rome, and Jim Rome had talked about, hey, tell us a little about Jimmy Garoppolo and how everybody's behind him and everybody loves him so much. And Deebo was like, man, we see what happens behind the scene, right? With just how hard he works. He's been here. We've won with him. He gets hurt. He plays through it. He's tough. He's a great leader. All things that, a guy like Trey Lance, a rookie, needs to learn how to do. And I think that is clear. And I think that's why his teammates do come to his defense so much when people in the media attack Jimmy Garoppolo, for, I think, reasons that are justified. But, he's saying, listen, we know the person and we like that person. And we're willing to go to war with that guy because we see what he goes through on a daily basis. And from being in that position before, previously playing on teams, I get it, getting behind somebody that everybody else is like getting on. But when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, it kind of is what it is. I think a lot of it is warranted. If Jimmy Garoppolo was going out there week in and week out, lighting it up, I don't think you'd hear as much pushback on him as you do. So I understand his teammates coming to his defense, but
that's to your point. Like, doesn't that speak more to the character of the teammates than to any truth about Jimmy? It just shows that the teammates are good teammates. Like, this gives me respect for Deebo because I grew up on Terrell Owens, and he wouldn't say stuff like this if it wasn't warranted, right? I mean, he eviscerated Jeff Garcia, who, in my opinion, was a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. And the fact that Deebo's here being like, man, I'll be friends with him for life, it's a different generation. I don't know. It's nice. It makes me respect Deebo very much. It doesn't change my opinion of Jimmy in the slightest.
Right. Those are the kind of guys that they've really worked hard to bring into the locker room, whether it's Deebo, guys like Kittle, guys like Warner. they are all really good guys. And I think they chose that type of locker room. And it's beneficial at a time when you're, 2-4 and then 3-5, you have a big loss to the Colt McCoy-led Cardinals. That was a time where most teams that are about, like, when it's about the players, they'll kind of just fold. The 49ers didn't, because it is about everybody. It is about the team. And I think, you hear comments like that from not just Deebo, but really everyone that speaks out about Jimmy Garoppolo. It really just shows how tight-knit that group is. And a guy like Trey Lance, he's still kind of working to get into that and has to kind of, prove that he belongs in that kind of room as well.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take long, though, if he plays well. Like, I would imagine, I don't cover the Rams. I would imagine people said a lot of nice things about Goff on the way out. I'm sure Cooper Kupp did. I'm sure they all did. I mean, nothing personal against Goff. And then Stafford comes in and it's like, okay, well, my career just took off. Thank you very much, Stafford, and good luck, Jared Goff. And if Lance has that kind of effect where he's throwing for 5,000 yards, 30, 40 touchdowns, and Deebo will really, really, really like Jimmy. Because I think the number one reason he likes Jimmy is that Jimmy threw him the ball like a ton. I mean, he gave him 135 targets. How could you not like a quarterback like that? If Trey Lance can come through too, then they'll be friends.
I think the tough thing for Trey Lance is, he is following up Jimmy Garoppolo, somebody that is extremely loved. And, it's not going to be just smooth sailing the entire way with a guy like Trey Lance. Now, we've seen him do well with really both receivers, right? I think Deebo had some pretty big games with him. Ayuk had a really good game with him. But, continuing to kind of build that continuity and develop as more of a pure passer, I think that's something that's going to take, more than just a year. And I think, Deebo kind of alluded to that as well.
There was one more thing he talked about. He had the little sit down with Rome. There was another one. I was with you with the Pro Football Focus, or I don't know. I retweeted it. It's on my timeline on Twitter. He was talking about, someone asked him, like, so by the way, Tom Brady, there's rumors that he would want to play for the 49ers. What do you think about playing with the GOAT? And Deebo's like, I had no idea. Like, he was just totally legitimately shocked and didn't have an answer. I think is pretty. How do you say no to Tom Brady again? Also, he said he's excited to play with Trey Lance, so he's saying the right things. But real quick before we move on, Tom Brady, you think he is there any legs to this?
I don't know, man. I mean, he just retired, and I know he kind of like left the door open for a return. You know, after a while, he'll see how he feels. I would question what the 49ers plan has been all along if they go and get him. Now, I'm not going to push back on it. Tom Brady's great. 49ers to do better with him. But, I mean, at some point, you have to really work to kind of develop your young guy. And, you know, success doesn't happen overnight. I know Josh Allen was a guy who took over a team that just previously went to the playoffs. He didn't play great his first year. He didn't really play great his second year. Played well enough to go to the playoffs, and now he's amazing. But, you know, it took time to kind of get to that point. And the 49ers had to be willing to kind of get through that, or they're just going to continue this kind of cycle of Trey Lance has to develop and all that stuff.
The Jedi says Kyle had his awakening moment in that Houston game. It seemed like he started figuring out how to call games for Lance in the second half, like play action. It's get to the play action part in your playbook that you crossed out because Jimmy doesn't like it. Sean says, I can't take this anymore. Yeah, he's made it, but when is Florio right? He's a freaking Vikings fan and usually wrong. Him, King, Papa, and Schefter should have a show called Jim Delusions. Yeah, I think he likes trolling the Niner fan base more than I do. And so all I have to say to that is respect. All right, question. It seems like Russell Wilson could get traded this offseason too. Was it Albert Breer said he thinks it's going to be to Philly? So it's getting kind of specific. How do you think this saga will affect the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know how much it affect Jimmy in the sense of because, well, I guess it will because Russell Wilson is going to have priority. Right.
You know, first.
Yeah. I think a lot of teams are going to be in the market to get a quarterback or potentially trade for one, whether it's Deshaun Watson, Russell
Rodgers.
Wilson, you know, A-Rod, and Jimmy. Also, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo. But Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the easiest one to get in the sense of the capital that you'd have to give up on. You know, it's going to be on, you know, where do teams think they are? Do they need a bridge type guy? I think if they do that, it is more Jimmy Garoppolo. Right. And maybe they want to draft somebody and develop them and do all that kind of stuff. But if they are a team that's like, hey, like let's say the Colts, and I know they're not going to move on from their Carson Wentz right now, but let's say the Colts were a team that's like, man, we are really ready to win right now. We are just a Russell Wilson away. That will affect a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo if Russell Wilson's available.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, I was thinking everyone thinks the Steelers are the number one team that could go after Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, unless they get Russell Wilson, right? I mean, I'd rather get Russell Wilson than Jimmy Garoppolo. So it seems like this just kind of holds up the market. If the Niners wanted to trade Jimmy today, you can't, because every team that would be interested in him is probably interested in Russell Wilson too. And they'd be like, can we get back to you in 3 weeks? Like, can we get back to you in March? So this kind of just holds up the whole thing. And the Niners are like third on the pecking order. It's interesting. It affects the timeline. That's really the only thing I can think of. But also, it does help them in the division if Russell Wilson leaves. Like, what would Seattle be? That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you get the boogeyman out the NFC West. And the 49ers, I mean, they're a far better team than the Seahawks this season. And even then, weren't able to beat them just because of Russell Wilson mystique that he kind of has over them, him and Pete Carroll. But I think if you take away Russell Wilson, that's kind of like making Pete Carroll, you know, fight with one arm behind his back. So, yeah, you got to get Russell Wilson out of there. I think that helps really open up the NFC West tremendously because that's the only thing that's really holding the 49ers back from even being more dominant in the division.
That's right. That's 2 more wins right there. All right, let's get to some rumors that are totally unsubstantiated, but they came from an account on Twitter called NFL Rumors that has 60,000 followers, so I'm going with it. They said, whoever they is, that the Niners, Raiders, and Lions are interested in Jabril Peppers. Makes sense. Strong safety. Niners would have a need there if Tart leaves, and this guy was a first-round pick. The dude who went to Michigan, right? Return kicks and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think?
He was a special talent coming out, like big-time versatility, but he just showed to really be up and down. So if I'm the 49ers, you know, I would probably lean more towards bringing a guy like Jaquiski Tart back as opposed to going out and getting the Jabril Peppers because the money might be similar, might even be a little bit more for a guy like Peppers, who's a little bit younger than Tart. So, you know, just kind of tying all that in, you know, I'd stick with the guy that knows our defense, knows how to play with the guys. The communication is on point. That's a big part of any defense being successful, and continue to play with Tart, who's good when he's on the field. Now, that's a big part about it. You know, the availability
14
of
games
Tart,
this year.
Yeah, you know, the availability of Tart sometimes up and down, but if he's going to play 14 games like he did this season, then yeah, you roll with Tart over going out and pursuing a guy like Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, that seemed kind of out of left field. Do you think strong safety is a position I'm going to first and foremost this offseason? If you don't bring back Tart, you need a starter, because I don't think that Hufanga necessarily has shown that he's one yet. So is your plan at strong safety bring back Tart?
Yeah. It would be. Now, Hufanga, he's solid, and he shows that he can play. You do know in theory you kind of lose a little bit of like that big play athleticism, but maybe he does.
I'm sorry,
not drop interceptions that are thrown.
I don't really want round 5 athleticism in the secondary. Sorry, you were an undrafted free agent. I know you can move, but like I'm just saying, man, these weapons are so fast, and I feel like if you don't have someone like Tart, who was a real, what am I saying?
I think it works well. I think it works well with him when you have 3 safeties on the field.
Yep,
and he can be more of just a pure 2-high guy as opposed to getting caught having to run vertically with a guy from the line of scrimmage. And that's where we saw that hurt him in the Cardinals game. Yep. That's something, if teams see that, they'll know how to take advantage of that. And I think that's where his limitations are. So I think he's solid as the 3rd guy.
I think so too. I think it's interesting to bring back Tart. I think a lot of people assume that he'd be gone. He might have assumed that he'd be gone, but aside from that drop pick, which was rough, he really played very well. I think he played Hufanga like off the field. They kept trying to like make him split time, and Tart was clearly better. So he might have played himself back onto this team. If he did,
high upside again. Plays fast, terrific tackler around the scrimmage. He's awesome. I know everybody, you would love to see more plays being made, not just by him, by Ward as well. Interceptions, forced fumbles, those type of things. But just in the sense of guys just doing their jobs and more times than not playing sound football, I think both of those guys do a good job at safety.
Travis Touchdown says if Tom Brady wants to be on the Niners, he thinks the team can win a ring, he'd take a salary hit. There's a better situation than Trey sitting behind Tom Brady for a year. Yeah, I'd be in favor of bringing in Tom Brady. It seems to me you put Brady with Debo and Kittle and Ayuk, they should probably win a Super Bowl, and that's a good thing. And you could play Trey the next year. I mean, I never understood sitting Trey behind Jimmy. It's like Jimmy's not even a Pro Bowler. But Tom Brady, that's a whole different question. That's a whole different conversation. Yeah. That's how I feel.
Or Tom Brady is the greatest, and that's the tough thing. I understand, like what's the plan with Trey Lance, and at some point you got to put that plan into action by playing them. But if somehow Tom Brady just kind of lands in your lap, that's something that's extremely difficult to turn down. As much as I want to say, hey man, just play the young guy. You know, he has that dynamic ability, all those things you want to see. But you got Tom Brady, who is playing. He might be league MVP this year at the age of 44. Right. It's hard to turn that down.
Yeah, because I was the one guy. I mean, not the one guy, but all year I was saying, man, why are they not playing Trey Lance? Doesn't make sense. People be like, well, Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years behind Brett Favre, not behind Jimmy Garoppolo. That would have been crazy. Tom Brady's a lot better than Brett Favre was. All right, another rumor that's totally unsubstantiated. The 49ers are supposed to be big players in the wide receiver market. When I read this, I was like, they have no cap space. And the wide receiver unit on the team, I mean, the top 3 is young and really good. But Kyle was a wide receiver. He loves wide receivers and often does things in free agency that I don't understand. What do you think? You think there'll be big players in the wide receiver market?
Nah, I mean, maybe like go get like a low price guy, like maybe like a John Ross, right? I'm all for bringing in someone that has a different element, a different element to your offense. And the 49ers are missing a couple of things offensively. One, that just pure speed guy. They've been playing guys like Travis Benjamin. You know? and it's like, all right, you have a catch here and there, whatever. But you would like to have someone that is more dynamic and brings a different element, especially if you're going to continue to utilize Deebo Samuel in the backfield. So, and I know Debo's kind of splitting time. He had more rushes than receptions the last half of the season. If I'm the 49ers, I'd probably go the draft route and get a guy who's, crosses off a couple boxes, a big, fast field stretcher. The 49ers don't have a dynamic big guy. I know they got Juwan Jennings. He's a solid big slot, but I would like, somebody a little bit more dynamic that has that size as well. I would go more the draft route than spend money on free agent guys, especially when you have Ayuk and you have Debo and you have George Kittle, who you not really figuring out exactly how to utilize Kittle to his full potential, but that's a whole nother story.
And it's like you're just about to give Deebo Samuel $25 million a year. He earned it, and then you're already giving Kittle $16 million a year. You forgot how to get him the ball, apparently. Ayuk, you traded up for Ayuk, and he was really good when you decided that he was out of the doghouse, and now you want to bring in someone else who's expensive?
I got a question for you.
What?
What's up with Kyle and how he treats rookies? Like, you know, he kind of came out and talked about how Ayuk, you know, how he started to get out of the doghouse, and then Kyle just openly said, well, I didn't really want to play him last year, but we had no choice because, you know, I didn't have anybody else to play. It was just him and Kendrick Bourne. And it was like, well, he still did very well. So it's kind of hard. Sometimes he keeps telling us, oh, this guy's not ready. This guy's not ready. That's what he's telling us. But then you felt like Ayuk wasn't ready, and he had a very solid rookie year. And then he starts this year, still is pretty productive, even with you not really making him a focal point of offense. Why is Kyle Shanahan like that towards rookies? Are the expectations too high? Is he too stubborn? I need to kind of ask you, you know, your thoughts on that.
I'm going to give you my best guess, and you tell me what you think. I think, like, we look at Kyle as being progressive. He's cutting edge with his offense. He's kind of cool. Like, he seems like hip and young and with it, but he's very conservative in certain ways. Like, he's an extension of his dad, and old school coaches didn't trust rookie. You don't play rookies. I think it's just old school. Kyle is more old school than you think. Just because he wears flat brimmed hats and Yeezys doesn't mean that he's not thinking like a 70-year-old man in certain ways. Because I know, like, I'm very close with my dad too, and in certain ways, I can think like a 70-year-old man sometimes because I'm that in tune with how he did journalism, how he covered things. Like, I'm sure Kyle is that way. And I'm sure there's a voice in his head saying, he's a freaking rookie. You don't trust him. He's a freaking rookie. And the only time he did was like back when they were awful and had to play all their rookies 5 years ago and Kittle got in the field. But I think that's how he feels. I don't know. What do you think? Did you have coaches like that? I
agree. I think not to the extent. It's different in the NFL. There's a lot more money on the line.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, like then me playing in the Arena League, and even then, I think my rookie year in the Arena League, I was the only rookie and that started. I started every game that year. So, you know, you could see that maybe guys just trusting veterans more, but I don't know. Kyle, he's like he's very stubborn in the sense of liking things a very, very, very specific way. And it's almost like he plays everything for today and nothing for tomorrow. Like there's nothing that he does where he's like, you know what, the long-term benefits of playing this guy right now and getting these hiccups out of him, you know, will benefit me down the line. He doesn't care about that. Everything is about today.
I got another theory. Dante Pettis PTSD. Because Dante was inserted into the lineup right away. He was like, he's going to start. He's really good. He's really good. And Dante never really, you know, could back it up. And I think Kyle's maybe saying, I want people to prove it from now on. Maybe he felt he took the wrong approach with Dante. What do you think?
Yeah. And that could be the case. And you got a lot of guys in the locker room that,
because Dante got to play.
Yeah, he did. But remember, he got hurt and he was kind of in and out. But then he came on strong at the end of the year. He actually finished the season
started
strong,
week 1 in Minnesota, got a bunch of targets, had a touchdown.
Yeah, but then next year was ugly. And I remember the training camp, and I remember standing next to you just like, what the hell is going on with this dude? Pettis?
Maybe Kyle was worried about that happening to Ayuk. But again, I don't think he had to. I think he might have been overly worried there. The little I've met Dante. I know Dante sort of. I know Ayuk sort of. They're way different. Yeah. Way different. Ayuk is way more confident and like driven than Pettis from what I've. Anyway, Kyle had his methods. Sean says, Croc, you were a DB. I love Ward and Tart. They used to say people are DBs because they can't catch. Tart and Ward drop balls at an all-pro level. LOL. Ward caught his picks this year. He had one in the NFC Championship game. I'm just saying, Tart needed to catch that one. What did Tart do wrong on that last one?
Just not attack the ball. He kind of waited for it to come to him.
He jumped.
You gotta go up and go get it. Yeah, go attack that with your hands. He was kind of backing away too. Yes, it probably would have been a little easier if he would have put his foot in the ground, came forward, then went and got it. But it was like he was falling away while letting it come into his body. I think that's a little bit less than the ideal way to kind of catch the ball. And those are hard sometimes where it's like some people would tell you the plays, even receivers, like the one where you're just wide open and there's nobody around you. You start all these different things start to go through your head. And maybe that's what happened with him. That was tough. That's a play, like you said, he can make in his sleep. And biggest moment of the season, he let that slip through his hands.
I never played tackle football.
But he made that amazing one-handed catch a few years ago against the Panthers.
Yes, he did.
You know,
I played center field at JV, and as a center fielder, the worst feeling is you misjudged it. It's going over your head. Everyone's going to laugh. And I could see he started backpedaling, jumped. I think he was afraid he misjudged it and it was going to go over his head. That's why they teach you as an outfielder, you run back further than where you think it's going to drop, and you want to be moving in. I think it's the same thing with punt returners too. Like, you want to be moving in so that doesn't ever happen to you, because it'll happen. I don't know if it ever happened to you playing Little League.
You should have caught that like a punt, man. Elbows in. That's what they teach you.
Damn, Crocky doing his second show this morning. That true?
Yeah. I do a show every morning, so.
Croc's the only one that grinds harder than me, man. He also is like training children to be the next great NFL. Like, he does it all, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Ayuk made All-Pro Diggs look like he was on skates. I was impressed by that.
He did, and Diggs hurts himself a little bit. His eyes are so bad.
Yeah.
He gambles a lot. He's playing for the picks, so he's gonna give up more, and there's gonna be times where it looks like he's just destroyed in a route because his eyes are so bad. His eyes always go to the quarterback. So that's how he got 11 interceptions, but that's also how he gave up 1,000 yards.
Dude, if Jimmy had just hit Ayuk down the middle in that Dallas game, people be looking at Ayuk a lot differently right now. Because he really stepped up when he was given a chance. Mr. Egotistic Aura says, first off, you're my favorite when it comes to Niner news. Thank you. Second, Tom Brady guaranteed number 6. I mean, you can't say that in football because there's injuries and stuff, but basically.
It Kyle doesn't want to Super Bowl odds.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorites. They'd be the favorites.
Yeah, thank you. Keldon says Kyle doesn't want a repeat of his Falcon year 1 experience. That's why he sits rookies. It's all about his system. It's true, right? He's the guy who says it takes a year. So ideally he wouldn't play anyone in the first year, I guess. All right, next topic. Who's the most important free agent for the Niners to re-sign? They have a ton of them.
Oh man, I'd have to start with probably Laken Tomlinson. You don't want to create a bunch of holes across that offensive line. And there's already a weird dynamic at the right guard position with Aaron Banks, and then you got Ben Garland. Like, who's going to play there? McGlinchey tore his hamstring off his bone or his quad or whatever, so you don't know what's going to go on with him. Right. So you don't want to create more holes on the offensive line by not bringing back a guy who essentially played at a Pro Bowl level. So I think Laken Tomlinson, that's probably the biggest free agent guy, just so that it kind of holds some of that offensive line together. That really, I know they'll point out moments where the offensive line got beat, but if you look at some of the grades, they graded out at a high level. So you want to kind of keep that going as much as possible by bringing back one guy that was one more consistent player. Did not miss a snap, played 100% of the snaps last season.
I'm not the biggest Laken Tomlinson fan. I think he's a little overrated. That being said, he's their second best offensive lineman. And if they were to move on from him, you can't give the job to Aaron Banks. I think that's why they drafted him, to give themselves some, options, but that didn't work out. Like, Banks needs to go prove it. You can't just move on from Tomlinson now in free agency without seeing Banks in training camp. So it seems like the only way to move on from Tomlinson would be to sign someone even more expensive that hasn't been here. So why do that? Right. So I'm with you. I think it's Tomlinson.
And that's not to say, again, like you said, it's not like he's like great, but he's solid, right? Like, he's solid. With him and Trent Williams, outside of him, your left side is pretty solid. Now, figure out the center, figure out right guard, figure out right tackle, but don't have to figure out 4 positions on the offensive line within the aging Trent Williams. That's not good.
Like, for me, it's tough to say Tomlinson because I think DJ Jones is a better player. I think Arden Key probably brings more impact with that. I mean, he had 6.5 sacks in like 10 games down the stretch, but with Chris Kosarick, I'm almost saying, like, you don't really have to spend on D linemen. He can keep doing it. I mean, he just made Arden Key out of nothing. He can probably create the next Arden Key. Maurice Hurst could be the next Arden Key. So I don't know.
Yeah, they keep those guys going. Whatever Kosarick is doing, putting guys in the position that's going to work for them. And it might take them time to figure it out. Take them time to figure out it will with Arden Key. Right? Arden Key didn't hit the ground running, but at some point, the second half of the season, they figured out, okay, we could use him like this. We could bring him inside. And he started to really kind of take off and have a lot of success. So, I trust Kosarick and it's been a different guy every year. Last year was Kerry Hyder. Where everybody's like, you can't lose Kerry Hyder. Now nobody cares about Kerry Hyder. I don't even know what he's doing with Seattle.
Exactly, man. So if they lose Arden Key, it'll suck. But the next team, you have no idea whether you're getting the Niners Arden Key or the Raiders Arden Key. And the Niners are going to probably easily replace him. Right. Jedi says RG3 PTSD with Kyle and the rookies. Possibly. Some form. Coach says Kyle is a slave to his mentorship. Rookies are liabilities. He wants to see it in practice and then wants the okay from the vets, AK locker room. I think there's a lot to that. He wants to see it in practice. So he's putting all this emphasis on something that's not really football. And I don't know how Trey Lance played on the scout team, but it seems like once he settled down and got to play tackle football for 3 hours, he really improved. I don't know. Right. Maybe Kyle should. To me, Kyle has a spotty track record of playing the best players. Like, he was really convinced that Mohamed Sanu was having a great offseason, and nothing against Sanu, but like, dude, Jennings is better than him. You should have given these rookies a chance to show it in a real game, and maybe you would have seen it before week 11 or something.
Or, I mean, even playing guys over Brandon Ayuk and having him split guys with, split reps with guys like Trent Sherfield, who you have no plans on utilizing throughout the year, but you're taking reps and snaps and targets away from Ayuk because of however you feel about him. So I think
Sherfield ran his routes harder in practice, probably.
Yeah, Kyle could sometimes be his stuff, and he's good. He's a terrific head coach. He's terrific. But I do think he sometimes can kind of get in his way a little bit, his own way.
It's like his decision-making process is crazy. And like, how do I decide who to play? Well, I want it to be fair. I want to base it on practice and stuff. Okay, well, that just led to you giving a bunch of targets to Mohamed Sanu for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and now you're 3-5. I'm just saying, Sean McVay doesn't make that mistake. All right, but that's a low blow. Gammon says trade Jimmy G, Debo, and Kittle to Tampa Bay and Green Bay for Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Run a Wildcat offense with Trey as a running back. Croc is the GOAT. Loving the show, man. Thank you. I like that.
Gammon's being funny there. He's being funny.
You're a big draft guy. Have you gotten into like mocks at all? What are you looking at? There's no first round pick. The Niners pick what, 60 something? 61?
61, I believe.
What are some positions or players that you think should be on the Niners' radar at that spot?
I think it should be wide open. See, now there are a lot of people that say, they got to draft an edge, or they got to draft a safety, or they got to draft a cornerback, or they have. And I'm like, man, if you look at some of the 49ers' most productive rookies really throughout their time, a lot of times it's not the guys that they take first or second or third.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you should look at the draft as one, these are humans, and there's the human element to all of it. Just get talented people. So at 61, I mean, who is going to be able to come in and make an impact at any position, even if it's a position like receiver that people think is not that big of a quote unquote need, which I think is more of a need when all you have is Ayuk, Debo, and Jawan Jennings, who's cool.
Your number one wide receivers has to play running back for you too.
Yeah. So, I think it should be wide open. I'd say if I had to really prioritize it, I would go edge. You talked about Arden Key being a big loss. If he walks, that's a big free agent signing you believe in. So maybe going out and getting somebody off of the edge that can either come in as a rotationary edge rusher, or come in right away and be a 4-down defensive end to help out Bosa. So if I had ideally do that, and then that helps out the secondary. The 49ers have shown time and time again, you don't have to have elite.
You know what I'm going to say they should do in round 2?
Huh?
I'm going to say they should do in round 2.
Yeah, you're going to say they should take a corner in round 2. And
that's fine. Every year.
If there's a guy there and I'm like, okay, you can't pass on that guy, I get it. But I would, if I have an even grade on an edge rusher and a corner, I'm definitely going with the edge rusher because they affect the back end more than a good corner can affect the back end with bad pass rushing.
All right, let me allow me to retort here. If there's a corner who can play outside and in the slot, maybe that guy doesn't exist at pick 61. Those guys go quick. But if there's a guy that you feel can actually match up with Cooper Kupp and feel confident with him man-to-man, not getting beat all the time, I'd be really interested in that guy.
Yeah.
Someone who can line up in the slot.
But the 49ers, if they had shown me that they would call a defense that way, and maybe if they felt like they had that guy, maybe they would.
Right.
Maybe if it's like, hey, no, we do got a guy that can shadow this guy.
When Verrett was playing like that, Saleh kind of changed how we call it a little bit, but I don't know how D'Amico would do it.
Right. So, they play so much quarters too high, things that are a little safe. Maybe they do it because of the corners, but it worked ultimately, right? Even in the game where, Odell got 100 yards, Cooper Kupp got 100 yards, but it's like, man, the Rams still scored 20 points. Offense should be able to score more than 20 and win that game.
True.
So I still lean a little bit more towards the pass rush and moving the quarterback off of his spot, make him have to rush his throws. I think that helps everybody, even if your corners are just fairly average.
I just want to say, like, to your point though, any position, just don't take the next Aaron Banks. Don't lock yourself into a need and take a player who's a total whiff. I'm not saying Banks is a whiff, but
I never liked Banks. I never saw what they were telling us. They told us that he was, for his size, he moved well and he was fleet. And I saw a guy that was struggling to pull. He was struggling to reach guys. He sometimes when he tried really hard, he'd fall. If somebody gave him a little bit too much at the line of scrimmage, he just grab him. Like I never saw what they saw in Aaron Banks, but I'm not a big offensive line guy. But I always thought that pick was kind of weird once I watched it.
Someone told John Lynch that Notre Dame makes the best offensive lineman. He needs to he needs to say that. Don't talk to me anymore. It's not true. Just stop trusting the Notre Dame system. Grant, Pettis cared more about reality TV than work. Did I ever tell you that story? Someone DM'd me and said that Pettis reached out to him and after his rookie year and said he was trying to set up a reality show for his family, like kind of like the Kardashians, like the Pettises, because they're all so interested. His brother, I don't know if it was true, but it sounded like anyway, he never followed through.
He's a very artsy person. I could see that being the case.
The one thing about Pettis that makes me laugh is you look on his Twitter and it says creative writing major. It's like, dude, you graduated like 4 years ago, man. Yeah. What are you talking about? Anyway, you should probably update that. Trey Niners says we should see a different Kyle next season with Lynn in the building. I think Kyle realized his deficiency in decision making and Lynn will help him. That's interesting. You think so?
I think people question Lynn's decision making.
That's true, right?
Like that's the big thing. Here's my thing with the Anthony Lynn thing, and I think he's a terrific guy to have in there as your assistant head coach. And I do think he potentially can add some different dynamics to the run game scheme. And maybe McDaniel is a bigger loss than what Kyle's kind of leading on, or what most people think. I think everybody thinks, oh, it's Kyle Shanahan, he's the mastermind, but kind of listen to people talk. Sounds like maybe McDaniel behind the run game is kind of the guy, right? So maybe Anthony Lynn helps that. He was a running back coach when I was with the Jets.
Exactly.
So I've had that. Yeah.
Really?
But, yeah. But I didn't have.
Okay. Yeah. He's on the other side. How well do you know him? Was he on the other side of the ball? I didn't get much contact.
Yeah. Nah. Now, one day, randomly, he sat down and just ate with me. I don't know why. I was the only person sitting at the table. We spoke for about 20 minutes or so, but that was really the only like real interaction that I had with him.
What did you guys talk about?
I couldn't even tell. I don't even remember. I think I was just nervous. Like, man, why is this guy talking to me? So
he must have just saw a player sitting by himself and was like, "I'll go sit with that." Yeah, he seems like a good guy. Anyway,
it was early.
Everyone who knows him says he's great, but I do know that he was questioned. I don't follow the Chargers, but he didn't want to start Herbert. Only reason Herbert got to play is because Tyrod Taylor almost got killed by the freaking medical staff
or something.
That was crazy.
I'd say this. I like the Lynn hire. I don't think that's a bad hire. I think that's a good guy to have in the locker room, assistant head coach, all that good stuff. I would like for them to bring in somebody that can expand on the passing game, like somebody that can make this offense a little bit more dynamic from a passing standpoint.
Like Bobby Slowick.
So, I would have liked them to do that.
Yeah. No, the way I see with Lynn is that McDaniel, it's not that he's necessarily the architect of the run game, but every week, all that game planning on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's a lot of legwork that McDaniel would do. And Kyle doesn't have time for that. He's the head coach. So he's going to delegate that now to Lynn. That's going to be Lynn's homework every week. And he has a lot of work to do. And I think that's his main function on this team. It's very important.
A lot of people think that's the guy that look what he did with Justin Herbert. And I'm like, I think that was Pep Hamilton. I don't think that's Anthony Lynn did not want to play him.
That's true. He did not. And in that sense, he and Kyle are very similar in their conservative decision making. I don't think Kyle brought in Lynn because he's like, I don't trust my decision making anymore. I'm gonna delegate decision. No, I think he's delegating, game planning for the running game. That's what he does. Damian says Jimmy Garoppolo would be great if he didn't turn into Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh no, at some point in almost every game. Too many boneheaded mistakes. That's my thing with him, man. Like he plays like, to me, the starter with the worst football IQ far too often for a guy who's 30.
He's the best worst quarterback.
By far the best worst quarterback in the league. Yeah. I like that. All right. I want to ask, as a DB, as a former professional DB and a DB coach right now, I want to get your professional opinion of two players and a coach. Starting off with Ambry Thomas. He went from unplayable. You saw him in preseason. I mean, he was getting beat over the top left and right to a starter that I think a lot of people in the organization are excited about. What do you think about him?
He's somebody that shows me that he has all the ability. And watching him, especially early on, once he got his starts, I thought he was winning throughout routes, which is like, that's kind of difficult to be able to run with guys, consistently be in position. But then it's like, man, you just got to make the play. I thought he lacked that. I didn't care for the way that they kind of utilizing him most of the time as an off coverage type guy, which he showed to be the opposite at Michigan. He was a press man guy at Michigan. When he did play zone coverages, it was from the line of scrimmage and reading his keys from a press alignment. So 49ers saying, hey, we want you to play 7 yards off every snap. Hey, be able to backpedal, read, turn and run with guys. That wasn't a strong point of his. And they still doing that. So maybe, Kyle Shanahan saying, oh, man, I didn't think we would be this point when I was watching him. Well, yeah, because you're not playing him how he was successful in college. It's complete opposite, especially for a guy, maybe his movement skills. But he has shown me the ability to have, hey, I can run with anybody. I'm going to be in position. Now it was just, can you make the plays at the catch point? And I thought he started to improve that as the season went on. But I still think they're kind of doing him a disservice by playing him off so much. He's a press guy and likes to play press alignment. I think we can actually see a better version of Ambry Thomas if they did that.
See, I'm glad you went right to the off thing because that's what I wanted to talk about. I just watched the film of the defense, and I haven't been watching the defensive film in a few weeks, and that really stuck out. I know that Troy Aikman was talking about it because he was like, how come CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys can't just take advantage of this? And I thought the Rams did to an extent. You saw it more on like third down, 3rd and 9, 12-yard, on like just the deep comebacks. And I thought what you saw was like almost the way Sherman used to play it at the end, just real soft, bailing out, I'm not going to get beat deep. I'm not going to give up a touchdown. But if you want to take the first down, it's kind of there for you, which is so conservative. It kind of annoyed me. And I thought earlier in the season, D'Amico was calling much more aggressive coverages, and they were committing more penalties.
Yeah, you got to, even when he came in, because I think one of his first starts, talking about Ambry Thomas, was against Cincinnati Bengals, right? Yeah. And think about the plays where he got beat. He was off, right? He was off coverage and having to like maybe backpedal, turn and run, and that's just not really who he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, double move. That was from off coverage. I think they would help him and their defense a lot if they played him more at the line of scrimmage. I think Ambry Thomas would be much better suited to play that style of football, and they just haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the touchdown that he and Tart gave up in the NFC Championship game. I don't know who you would blame it on, but that was off coverage.
So that's
cover two in the right corner. To cup in the right corner.
So that's cover two. As a corner, you have to understand, okay, where's the weakness in cover two, right? We know it's the whole shot. So what you have to do, especially on that, which was like 3rd and 13 or something like that, just show body presence. If you just show the presence that you're taking away the corner route from the snap, the quarterback will immediately check the ball down, and you just rally down, make a tackle.
What you want to do on 3rd and 13.
But again, for somebody like Ambry Thomas, who did not play a lot of off coverage that way, and he's still kind of learning, those are some of the things you go through with rookies. It's just not ideal to go through that in the NFC Championship game.
And I think it was, I thought it was an adjustment to stop giving up penalties and big plays. That was pretty clear halfway through the season. It was just chuck it deep on the Niners defense. Something good will happen. They'll panic or whatever. Once they started playing back, that didn't happen as much anymore. But what we saw, I think Tennessee and the Rams do is just consistently convert on 3rd down because of it. Like the Rams were 11 for 16 or something, or 11 for 18 on 3rd down in the NFC Championship game. So I'm with you. I'd like to see the Niners. I'd like to see D'Amico be a little more aggressive with his corners. And if he doesn't feel he can be aggressive with those two, then get someone you can. Saleh felt he could do that with Verrett, right?
Yeah, I think he can be more aggressive with Ambry and Mosley. Now the liability was Kwan Williams, who just can't run with guys vertically. So that makes it tough, especially if you're too high. And if you have a quarterback who 49ers play a lot of quarterbacks that are mobile, if you run 2-man, it kind of leaves everybody turning their backs to the quarterback. He could take off and run. Even if you have a spy, it's going to be hard to spy a guy like Kyler Murray or even Russell Wilson, even at this stage in his career. So, I think it's tough to play a whole lot of man in the division that they're in, but you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta challenge guys. And they did some of it, but then they go to single high, and then you'd see, Kwan Williams get beat on a slot fade multiple times, one time in the divisional round playoffs or wild card against the Dallas Cowboys. Slot fade, that's easy money because Kwan Williams can't really run with the vertical routes like that. He's better on things like 7 yards and in or playing more zones.
That's right. All right. Give me your professional opinion on the other starting cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley. Great season statistically. Got beat a little bit in this NFC Championship game.
I really I like him, but again, playing him a lot of off, and it's just tough. And I don't know if they're telling guys, listen, we're just gonna work to keep things in front of us, and
Yeah.
we'll give up the 10-yard passes. You know, they can nickel and dime us all the way. At some point, maybe Matthew Stafford's gonna make a mistake, like he did on the first drive, but you can't really count on that consistently. I'm big on, hey, challenge guys, and that was one thing I liked about rookie Trevon Diggs. He challenged guys consistently at the catch point, even though he gave up some plays, but you know, you got to challenge guys at the line of scrimmage. I think doing that with your corners, I think that'll make life on every receiver in the division because they have the ability to do it. Both guys, Mosley and Ambry Thomas, like they can run. Yeah. So how many times do you see guys, like you see them press at the line of scrimmage and guys are just able to run straight go routes on them and outrun Ambry Thomas or Emmanuel Mosley? That's not how they're beating them. How are they beating them? Soft coverage, playing off.
Comebacks.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's not like, I like Mosley.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid starter. I think he's a solid starter. We'll see what Ambry Thomas is, but got to get those guys to be a little bit more aggressive. And maybe having a nickel defensive back or playing a guy like Ambry Thomas in nickel in more sub packages and bringing in somebody to play outside, maybe that'll help them as well.
You would think with the amount of two deep safety coverages that they play, how good their front seven is stopping the run, that they could be a little more aggressive with their cornerbacks since they both have safety help. You would think, but I like your point about, well, that exposes K1 man to man and he can't run. I had never really thought about that. Maybe that's why they call so little. So they call two man so infrequently. Because to me, that's the best coverage. That's what you want to call. If you can stop the run with seven, like that's, to me, that's,
or play with a robber. You know what I'm saying? If you're able to play man with a robber single high and you don't got to worry about slot fades on Kawhi Williams, then you could do a little bit more. But that's something that kind of bit them in the ass a little bit.
Well, that's another reason to go get a upgraded slot corner if you can. Stephon Gilmore would be nice. He'll probably be kind of expensive. I don't know if the Niners can do that, but they should probably. I put out on Twitter, like, the Niners need someone who can hold their own with Cooper Kupp, and like for days everyone was like, no one like that exists. All right, well, you got to have someone who can do something against him because he just killed.
I'll tell you what. Get a mean pass rush. Like, and there's not even so much somebody that's gonna stop him like Cooper Kupp per se, but make life more difficult on Matthew Stafford, because when he has time and he can pick a spot to throw to a guy, then you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I think they could do a little bit more, a little bit better job of bracketing him. Some of the things that they showed to do in the divisional round against the Green Bay Packers, bracketing Devontae Adams. Yeah. After that first drive, they were like, all right, we got to change some stuff up. And they went to a hard bracket. And I think that's what they might have to lean more towards with Cooper Kupp. It's a little tougher because he's in the slot, but you got to figure it out, scheme around it, and be able to play man on the other guys and not play as soft even on the Odell Beckham, who eventually can get 100 yards like he did in the championship game.
All right, give me your professional opinion of DeMeco Ryans. I mean, he had a hell of a rookie season, but just like Salah in the final quarter, couldn't get a stop, although he would have had a stop if Tartt would have caught the ball. What do you think of DeMeco?
Man, I thought he had a terrific rookie season as a coordinator. I try to look at, how is he calling games? What is he looking at? Does he go into the game with the right idea on how to stop guys? And then obviously, is he making some adjustments? And, watching him early on, I thought he did better than what people kind of gave him credit for. I'd say there were a couple games where I'm just like, you have no clue this game on how to defend these guys. One was the Arizona Cardinals game against Kyler Murray. I don't know if he wasn't expecting not Kyler Murray, excuse me, Colt McCoy. Yep. I don't know if he wasn't expecting Colt McCoy to play or if he was just like, I'm not prepared for him or whatever the case is, but they had no clue on how to stop anything that Arizona wanted to do that day. And that was a complete opposite of what we saw in the first game where they held the Arizona Cardinals to 17 points. And I think their last touchdown came on like their last drive or whatever.
Yeah, like Hopkins played, Kyler played. You took those two guys. You can't. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that was one game. And then I think the other game was the Chicago Bear game where they came out and I think they maybe overestimated their pass rush against that Bears defense offensive line that had gave up a ton of sacks to the Cleveland Browns. I think they said, you know what, we're going to play some soft coverage. We're just going to get to Fields with 4, and that just never happened. And Fields had time to be comfortable. That was probably his most efficient game. Then he started making plays with his legs. So I think those were 2 games where I'm like, he has no clue how to call defense against these guys right now. I think those are bad games by him. But aside from that, I thought overall he did well, especially having to, cover up maybe some deficiencies on the outside, play more coverage and soft. Did a good job against Cincinnati Bengals, limiting those guys for most of the game. I think they had like 3 points heading into halftime. Thought a lot of times he did a good job, especially having to really work with limited guys in his personnel. Played without Fred Warner, played without Tart, played without Ward, played without, felt like he played without everybody but Nick Bosa for extended time. So I thought he did a really good job. I'm surprised he didn't get more action as a potential head coach, because it sounds like people just know he's going to be that.
I agree. I mean, everybody, like, he was only a coordinator for 1 year. So was Vrabel. I mean, the next Vrabel. I mean, he has the same exact.
Allen, or what was his name? The guy that came from the Rams to the Chargers.
Staley. I mean, like,
Staley. 1 year. Yeah, 1 year coordinator.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I wanted to just look at one thing, that the Niners defense on third down. I mean, where do they rank? They ranks 20th. See, to me, that's the one area where DeMeco can improve. Like, you have this great pass rush, but I think he's very dependent on the 4-man rush. And what I thought Robert Saleh really showed his chops was in year 3. His third down defense got way better.
Started being really aggressive.
Yeah, and his pressure packages on third down were effective. And I just felt like in this game against the Rams, there was no blitz package that was real effective for DeMeco that he could go to on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, and that bit him, I thought.
Yeah, and other games too. Remember the Tennessee game? That was a big one.
Exactly.
And I if I had any hair, I'd be pulling my hair out with the spot dropping that they were doing. You have 3rd and long, and you just drop everybody out. They go max protection. They have 3 guys in route. You got 7 guys in coverage, and you can let a guy hook up right in the middle of 3 of your guys, and he catch a ball there, set it down. Right. The spot dropping, I'm not a big fan of spot dropping. That's just drop it to a spot. They get their eyes to the quarterback, and they kind of read his eyes, as opposed to, getting, you could get to a spot, but read your keys and let that guy take your eyes to the quarterback once you get a feel for where he's going and you have him controlled. So I'm not a big fan. I like more, even if you're going to do more like, let's say, like cover 3 sky, you still can add a match element to it in the sense of passing routes off. And I thought they're just spot dropping with their linebackers. Thought that kind of burnt them a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. So I just like to see DeMeco, the next level of growth from him be third down and pressure stuff, because I think he's got it all. I think he's really, really good. And that's, once he gets that, he'll be a head coach.
And maybe if they add another corner that can hold his own out there like you want, maybe that'll help him, free him up to do more blitz packaging and things like that.
Because I'm sure that's what DeMeco would say. He's like, hey, hold on. I mean, Robert Saleh only got real aggressive with his blitzes once he got Jason Verrett. Give me Jason Verrett. Think they'll bring back Jason Verrett?
It's tough. I'd say I lean towards no.
Yeah.
I'd say it's less than 50%.
Well, good luck to Jason. Hold on. Curly Daddy says, Grant and Crocky on the same podcast. You guys give me more entertainment every week than anyone else. Cut Jimmy now. My audience is a little ruthless. Sorry, Jimmy. That Niner guy says, Croc, thoughts on this? Sign Jonathan Jones and Isaiah McKenzie. Should be cheaper options. That would be solid starters. Petty is a stud. Draft him. What do you think?
Who's Petty?
I don't know. What do you think of Jonathan Jones and Isaiah McKenzie?
Jonathan Jones, DB from the New England Patriots.
Yes.
He's a speedster, I think. That's somebody, coming from a scheme that played a lot of man coverage. And again, they did some zone stuff. They'll do some quarters and things like that. But when it's nut cutting time, when it's third down, what if you have those stats still pulled up? What are Patriots third down? What are they doing third down on defense? Because when it's third down, they go. We're
they ranked 8th. They ranked 8th.
Yeah, see, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
20th. Yeah.
And they don't have any big time pass rusher. Judon was solid, but it's not like they have like just this mean pass rush. But when third down comes, they man up and they play good there.
And they're manufacturing pressure with scheme, right? I mean, they're getting, kind of.
Oh, they're talking about Petrie, not Petty.
Okay,
Petrie, he's from Baylor. I have a former teammate of mine that was with me with the Jets. He gives me inside information on South Carolina guys, Baylor guys, because he coached at both of those spots. He's actually with the Rams now, but he's really high. I mean, he sends me nonstop stuff on Petrie. He was really high on Deebo Samuel. Like before the season, he's like, hey, Croc, Deebo, I know you're into the draft. Watch the Deebo Samuel guy. He's going to be one of the best receivers in this class. And he was right. He told me about J.C. Horn when everybody else was on the big 6'4" corner. He was like, the 6'4" corner, yeah, he's cool. But Croc, I'm telling you, watch. Everybody's going to start getting on this guy, J.C. Horn. He's the guy. That's the guy that should go first corner in the class. He's different, and he tells me all these things about them. He talks to me about Kinlaw. Everything he's told me about everybody has been spot on.
Angelic Ambition says if we lose Tart, I'd like us to see us get Desmond King and Justin Reed. Reed is a better playmaker, and King is younger and one of the best in the slot. What do you think?
I like Reed. Desmond King
I was so impressed.
Well, had to play more outside stuff, but I think Reed has a different dynamic. You compare Reed with Ward, I think you're cooking up something right there.
I had never seen really Reed play that much. Definitely never in person until that game a month ago against Q. He was the most dynamic player in that defense. It seemed like he was spying Lance, and Lance could not get past him at all.
Yeah, flying in like a missile, hitting Lance's big ass.
Yeah.
That's a big, like Lance, he's 6'4", damn near 230 pounds. For a DB like Reed, Reed's not big. He's smaller than his brother, I'd assume. But man, he's coming downhill. He's coming downhill, throwing everything that he has, and we saw that. I like Reed a lot. Probably one of the more underrated safeties, not talked about enough.
Eric had a bunch of concussions and didn't hit like that after his rookie year. I was not expecting to see Eric Reed's little brother hit like that. I was like, damn, wow. Kid is hella good. He's not a kid. He's 25. Juan says Niners should use Trent Williams or Nick Bosa on 4th and 1 or goal line plays to gain a yard. They would always pick up the yard, or just do the quarterback sneak that was like 20 for 20 and the Niners got away from it. They started getting cute with the quarterback sneak and it cost them their season. No, but I don't understand it, man. They started messing up quarterback sneaks at the end. That was their best play. They invented the quarter. Hold on. David says Verrett can go toe-to-toe with Cooper Kupp. That's why we got to keep him. He'll also be very cost-effective.
Oh, no. I think he's good in his quarters that he does. If you want to run pure man-to-man with Verrett, I don't know if that's a strong point at this point in his career.
I think you pretty much need someone like Gilmore to have a chance. It's really tough. Trey Niner says, why isn't no one talking about Kyle's offense? He's supposed to be this offensive wizard, but our offense was trash this season, especially in the fourth quarter. Well, I feel like the quarterback was a limiting factor, and it should be a lot better next year. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? It wasn't trash.
I think that had to do with some of the handcuffing and limitations with it. The offense had to work off of something very specific, and if it didn't, it was a little bit more difficult for the offense to be, as productive as it could be.
And that offense was kind of new in 2019. Like, people hadn't seen it. Now it's the same thing every week. There's, the throws over the middle, the screens. It's not that much that the Niners do with Jimmy. Tri says Crocky and Cohn weekly. Yes. Thursday mornings, 9 a.m., 11 Central. You're out in Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm on Arkansas, 11 Central.
That's right. Congrats on being the new addition, Eric. Man, congrats. I'm just grateful that he wanted to do it. Lewis Sign and Carlton Davis would be nice additions to our secondary. I like Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis is good.
He's not very fast, so but he can match. Like, I feel like if you say, "Hey, Carlton Davis, go guard Cooper Kupp," I think that's a guy that's like you. That's a good matchup. Like that, I could live with the results of whatever happens with that.
Good suggestion. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Croc for coming on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Of course.
All right, man. I'll be back later today, probably. I'll see you guys later. Peace.